hard to miss. He's got the loudest shirt in the room.
Thank you.
Whoa, that was a bold jump.
I think I've got a hip there. Okay, I won't take any time at all. I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody for coming along this evening, which I'm sure you will as well. And one very small announcement, just something we've kind of launched today. Did anybody here go to PG Connects in London or Helsinki? Yeah, it's woo. I like that as woos, that's good. So, the good news is we're doing it all again. Thank you very much, you've been well trained. So yeah, we're kicking off in London on the 13th and 14th of January next year. The website's live, there's flyers all about it. Please come along, it's going to be awesome. It'll be doubly awesome if all you people are here. That's all I need to say. Apart from that, I'm going to hand back to the lovely, the beautiful Senator, Brian Collins. The last time, look at this jacket. Have you ever seen a jacket like that on anybody that's not in office? I don't know. It's beautiful. Okay, over to you, Brian.
Yeah, hi. Thank you, Chris. Give it up for Chris James, everybody. So, if I have not had the pleasure of meeting you yet, my name is Brian Collins. I'm the U.S. events editor here at Pocket Gamer, and I throw all of our events in the U.S., as the title kind of tells you. With me, we have an incredible panel of speakers tonight, and we're going to be introducing everybody. Today's panel is fairly general. We're going to talk about a variety of different issues today. We're going to talk about a variety of different things, just general overall platform questions, general questions on how to optimize for different platforms. I think you're going to have a lot of fun. Before we jump into that, however, we need to meet who our panel is. So, without any further ado, from my left, going all the way down, Jim, take it away.
All right, my name is Jim Ying. I head up the games business at Tango. We're a messaging app with over 220 million registered users. Of note, news today, we just announced a $25 million games fund to really push behind our gaming business.
Hey, I'm Adi. I'm one of the founders of Camcord. What we do is we let people record and share videos of their mobile games on iOS as well as Android. We've seen 14 million videos being shared. And this Thursday, we're launching our own app, a social network for gamers where you can watch all these videos in one place and interact with other gamers.
Hi, I'm Mike Reeves. I'm co-founder and CEO of CashBet. We are a licensed real money gaming mobile platform. We're a turnkey operator. Operating right now in the UK. If you want your games to be played for real money, come see us after this.
I'm Ash, co-founder and CEO of TapSense. We are a leading app monetization platform. We also sponsored, the cheese and the wine, so ask me easy questions.
Hello, for everyone who doesn't know me, I'm Sebastian. I'm responsible for corporate partnerships at Wuga. Wuga is a mobile game developer based in Germany, Berlin. We are around 275 employees, and we are famous for games like Jolly Splash or Diamond Dash.
My name is Jaime. I am a business development director from DNA, and I'm from Singapore. I just flew in last night, so if I'm a little bit slow, you have to forgive me.
Hi, I'm Dave Yonomine. I'm the co-founder and CEO of MobilityWare. We're a casual gaming company based in Orange County, California. So a little bit different from all of you here in San Francisco. So primarily card and casino type games. And I guess we were fortunate to have games like Solitaire and Blackjack from day one when the App Store opened, and they're still some of our most popular titles.
Cool. All right, guys, give it up for our panel really fast. They're taking time out of their busy day. So, that having been said, let's jump right into it. I have a whole list of questions here, but before we go anywhere else, if you missed the news today, Flurry was acquired by Yahoo for TechCrunch was reporting upwards of $200 million. This was announced just a couple of hours ago. Yahoo has been having issues with their mobile ad servers for a while now as far as making revenue on that side. A lot of people are saying this might be a way to fix that. This panel, I think, has some interesting concepts or thoughts on this, and I would love to know just initial impressions. This happened today. What were people's first thoughts?
I mean, talking about acquisitions and the mobile ecosystem, I think it's always good when acquisitions are happening. It's good for everyone. It means like we are in a healthy industry. So, and that's why I'm quite excited and happy about it.
Well, my comment is, while I'm somewhat surprised because I hadn't heard about it before, at one level I'm not surprised. Flurry took a large amount of investment in it, and it would be very difficult for them to have an IPO, even though that's what they had been talking about for a long period of time. So to get an acquisition, I think, is probably the best road for them at this point.
And if I can add, I think it really proves the point that mobile is really coming into its being. And if you really look at the two big trends, at least as a platform vendor, what we see is mobile being a very secular trend, whether that was through recession when App Store started up until now, as well as advertising really coming more and more to mobile. If you look at Twitter acquiring MoPub, as well as Facebook recently acquiring LiveRail, I think it just validates how big and important mobile has become. For a lot of web companies, especially when they're trying to break into apps, but they're not able to, so they're having to buy these companies, and they're having to buy their way into the ecosystem, which I think is great for everyone in the audience, as well as everyone who's going to be at Casual Connect.
I think it makes a lot of sense for a company like Yahoo, when Apple and Google obviously control distribution on mobile, but for the other big players in the space, the Facebooks, Twitters, Yahoos of the world, acquiring an analytics company that has so much reach as Flurry does, an advertising company too, makes a lot of sense for them to begin their business in this space.
I think it's a bold move by Marissa Mayer. I think that she's shown some leadership here. I think that Yahoo is trying to assert itself again. The stock price has been going up. The company's been doing okay. I'm a fan of their fantasy sports, and I think it's, as Ash said, it's also shows that companies are really making a push towards mobile, becoming sort of mobile first.
Thank you for reminding me about my terrible World Cup Yahoo fantasy bracket, by the way. I appreciate that. So here's my kind of follow-up question on that. Do we think that Yahoo is in any way trying to, obviously very early stage, but do we think that there's a long-term goal here of Yahoo possibly putting itself out as an additional platform? Could this perhaps be Yahoo's first major steps into mobile?
Yes.
Well, the only product of Yahoo that I've been using since now is Yahoo Mail. And the way how I use that is, that's where I forward all my junk mail. But we use, I don't know, does that still exist? But anyway, Flurry we use extensively. It's a great analytical tool, and I spend a lot of hours, playing around with Flurry and using that to sort of check the performance of our apps. So it looks like, if that's owned now by Yahoo, then I'll be using a Yahoo product again, in a good sense of it.
I just want to say, I'm a fan of my Yahoo. I use it on my mobile device, and as I said, I use the Fantasy Sports app. And if they're gaining a bunch of inventory and looking for a way to monetize it, why not?
I believe Yahoo also picked up Player.io, or one of the gaming back-end companies, and I think if you look at them potentially picking up a back-end server company in addition to a gaming analytics company, they could potentially be rolling out with some sort of platform. You look at what Amazon has done in terms of merging both AWS and building up some services on top of that. Clearly, I think in the mobile space, the platform play is where you want to be. And for example, someone like Tango, where the messaging space is super hot, we're building on top of our platform. You really do want to differentiate and be able to drive users towards kind of the apps and the other companies that you partner with.
Oh, okay. I was going to add some comments about Flurry. We use them extensively, like in all our apps, and that's 30-something of them. However, they have a problem going from the free to the paid model. They're trying to get to the subscription model, and they haven't really, I think, achieved everything they've tried to achieve, because we, like a lot of other people, haven't gone into that. And on the ad side, which is their other monetization model, they haven't fared as well. We tried it, because we're a pretty large publisher, we did try it, and it hasn't worked out nearly as well as we had hoped. Even though we continue to try it, we haven't given up on Flurry. We know the people there pretty well, but they still have to prove themselves.
I think one of the key differences we see, and many people miss that Yahoo when they started, they were the dominant property on the web, right? Which was then, it paved the path for better monetization, and they were the early leaders until Google happened, right? In mobile, that wasn't the case. There was actually a TechCrunch article, I don't remember if it was December 2012 or last year, where there was no Yahoo property was in top 100 of the iOS App Store, which if you think about as big of a property as Yahoo is, it's a little bit embarrassing. And that's where, but the mobile ecosystem is very different, right? It's like how Twitter is following, they specifically named it in the last earnings call, which was off Twitter strategy, where they are working with other third-party applications, which, like Vuga and as well as Mobility, where they have huge traffic, and they're building on top of that audience to help, whether that third-party services like Camcord or TapSense or, Flurry and so on. I think they are almost forced in a way, which I think is the smartest strategy, to go off Yahoo or off Twitter, where they're clearly not seeing that kind of growth.
So the reason I wanted to ask the platform question is because this is going to perfectly help us transition into the next portion. But so here's my question for everybody on the panel right now. Obviously, Google and Apple are the biggest in the game right now. Amazon App Store has made huge leaps over the past year, especially in the revenue per user level. And there's a variety of other different app stores that are popping up. Who are you guys supporting as far as what you guys are putting out there and why right now?
So for us, it's basically the three platforms that you mentioned. So our games are available on iTunes, Google Play, as well as on the Amazon store. We did test a couple of other stores in the past, including, for example, Samsung Apps, which is now renamed into Galaxy Apps. So Samsung Apps is not existing anymore. But it turned out that all of the other platforms that we tested, that they didn't bring the number of downloads that we had expected, and that was the reason why we basically don't support them anymore. So we are focusing on the three biggest platforms at the moment.
So in the real money gaming space, we can put our apps onto the iTunes store within the UK and into regulated markets where it's legal to do so. But Google, although they're happy to take your money from an AdWords perspective, won't allow real money gaming apps into their store. So we have an Android SDK, but we primarily use it for side loading off of destination sites or alternative app stores. So really, the primary mobile distribution mechanism for us right now is the App Store, Apple App Store.
So we have about 350 games that are using Camcord on iOS and Android, and only about 5 of them have asked for non-App Store and Play Store support, particularly Amazon and Samsung. That gives you a sense it's not as big as, it's not front of mind for a lot of developers. I think the app stores that are really going to take off are the ones in China where the Play Store is not dominant. So Wandoja, PlayCN, 360, those are going to be the dominant app stores because they're not fighting for a small percentage of the market share. They're fighting for 1/6 of the world's population.
So on our side, we support most of the platforms out there. Just from a messaging app perspective, you really want to be out there growing your virality base. I think the challenge for a lot of developers out there, really, outside of Apple and Google, there's not really that much of an ecosystem, and you really need the ecosystem to support your game or app. Where it's not just about the user base out there, which outside of Apple and Google, it's somewhat limited, but it's also about the ability to grow above what the platform is featuring. So for example, if you're on Amazon or if you're on Microsoft, hey, it's great if you get featured by the platform. But if you're someone who's looking to arbitrage users, looking at buying users at a, let's say, CPI lower than LTV, a lot of these other platforms just don't have that ecosystem in terms of the app vendors to support it.
I'll confirm what others have said. Obviously, iOS and Google Play are large, and Amazon, while they get a lot of press, is not nearly as large as the others. And in our experience, the vast majority of downloads happen on Christmas. And that's because there's a lot of devices that are gifted, but throughout the year, the number of downloads on Amazon is relatively small. We were invited by Amazon to participate in the Fire Phone thing, and so we participated and did all that. We'll see how that turns out, but I'm still not anticipating anything nearly as large as what the other two platforms have.
Speaking of Christmas, does anybody here remember or miss the days of Apple's App Store rankings locks that used to happen for the 2-week span around Christmas? Yay, I'm going to spend all my money and get it up there. So here's my kind of follow-up question to that. Let's get into the nitty-gritty a little bit. Let's kind of talk nuts and bolts here. As you guys are going out and preparing apps for launch to different platforms, what are the tools, what are the things that you're doing to put these together to make sure that this is going to be successful on A, B, C, and D, and not just on any of the above?
I can start on this one. So we actually don't have a common strategy where we say like all game teams, they have to use a specific tool or a development language or anything for this. We've been experimenting with several technologies to see like if it is possible to develop cross-platform games. Someone may know our experiments that we did with HTML5 a couple of years ago, then stopped it because it didn't work. Right now we have like I would say like a handful of games in development that are using Unity, which seems to be like one of the few approaches where you develop a game once and then distribute it across different devices. And I believe there are also other technologies and things out there that you could use to bring your game to several platforms. But none of them is working out of the box, at least like from our experience. If you have like other experience, that would be great if you could share it. But for us, it's like whenever you support a new platform, you definitely have to put a lot of QA into it, a lot of development power, resource. It's not that you develop it once and then push it out. You really have to make sure that you deliver the best experience possible for the specific users in those app stores.
And I think from a platform perspective, I would exactly echo what Sebastian has said, that this has led to, in some sense, the rise of platform testing services. So if you look at Google recently buying Apparify a couple months ago, I believe, and Apple buying TestFlight, it's more and more a validation of the fragmentation, if you will, in the platforms. And actually from what we see, the things are getting much more deeper, which I mean is the iOS tools are becoming more sophisticated, the native tools themselves. Similarly for Android with new metal design and all the breakthroughs that's happening is done by the platform vendors predominantly. And I agree with Adi, like what he mentioned before, everything is centering around these platforms and developing countries. Like we meet constantly with some of the publishers where they throw us numbers with like in hundreds of millions of installs of their app stores or properties, which is really incredible. And I think that's where the momentum is around iOS and Android.
Yeah, just to echo what my fellow social game developer friends here are saying, in the real money space, we're primarily seeing iOS and Android as the native games our developers are developing on. We've got a lot of interest in Unity right now, so I know a lot of you out there are using it, and if you're interested in that, you can come talk to David Selly at our table back there. Drop your business card in, you can win an iPad Air. But we're the problem with Unity, of course, is that for real money gaming, they want to charge a exacta license fee from you, a rather significant one. So we've got a solution to that. We've also got a Adobe Air SDK available, and we're seeing some call for that, which you can put out a game that's cross-platform, and I'm not sure how people are what the performance is going to look like on that, but yeah.
So obviously in the real money space, we kind of already got this answer, where for you guys, you can obviously be in the iTunes store, but you can't really be in Google. But beyond that, in the combined experience here, are there other games that just work better on Google versus iTunes or even Amazon App Store these days?
Yeah, I mean, we see being a platform provider, we get to see a lot of the data about monetization. From our experience, casual games is the place to be. And a couple reasons why it does work better. It attracts a wider breadth of audience for which advertisers, brands, agencies are willing to pay higher CPMs rather than a subsegment of gaming audience, let's say, for lack of a better example, hardcore games. And in-app monetization in general has also been much more higher. We have seen very similar trends on Android. The in-app purchases on an average has been much more lower, of the tune of 50% to 60% of average iTunes purchases, but that more or less gets covered by the massive distribution scale of Android.
I think a couple of years ago, certainly people would say, hey, the user base is significantly lower monetizing on Android. But I think with the sheer scale of the Android users and also your ability to target by device, really if you're doing the proper targeting for the right game, it should monetize at comparable rates. Whether it was my time at GREE, it was pretty close. And I think more so than the difference between a platform like Google versus Apple, the notable thing in terms of games distribution and publishing, I think really is if you look at the prevalence of some of the messaging apps out in Asia, the impact that someone like Line or Kakao or WeChat has really been able to drive in those markets, and the impact that those have had on the gaming business in terms of, as opposed to the distinction between Apple and Google, really is what in those markets is setting the gaming market on fire.
Coming back to the original question, if there's a specific game category that is working better on iOS or Google Play or the other way around, I think if you look into the top charts, you definitely see the same games on there. So I wouldn't say that there's like a specific game category that is working much better on iOS than on Google Play. Maybe Clash of Clans used to be much better on iOS, but the only reason was because it wasn't available on Google Play. But now it's also on the top there as well. I think the only difference right now is that paid games, if you take them into account, they perform better on iTunes than they perform on Google Play, but not a specific category.
Let me add one thing for those who might be interested in other monetization methods. We have games with in-app purchases, but the majority of our apps are ad-driven, free and ad-driven. And for those, iOS still monetizes substantially better than the other two platforms. And the reason for that is not that I think the users are inherently worse on Google Play, but the ecosystem around it, the advertisers put their emphasis on iOS first rather than Google Play, so they're just behind the curve. Okay, maybe not TapSense, but most of them are emphasizing iOS over Android.
So let me ask this question in a slightly different way. If you're an indie game developer and you're starting, you've got the idea of your game down, you start to put together the design elements of your game, but you're still early stages. Is mobile still the place that you go to launch? Is that with these competitive markets, is that still the place to go? Or should you really be shifting your focus more towards a Steam-esque environment, even a PS4 or Xbox Live? Should that be where the emphasis is? Or is mobile still the place for indie game developers?
I think mobile is still the place. It's much faster to develop a game on mobile, I think, rather than Steam versus PS4. I also think with the proliferation of new platforms, if you're an indie game developer, you want to be the first to get on the TV or get on a wearable. And there again, developing for iOS and Android, those are going to be the platforms that are powering the TVs and wearables of the future. And being part of those platforms early on could give you an advantage. So rather than competing with the big dogs on Steam and other places, I think mobile first still makes a lot of sense. There are some opportunities though, like with Facebook Canvas, where I think there's still an opportunity for indie game developers to do a Canvas app and then build a mobile app, but I don't know how long that opportunity is going to last.
I would say it really depends. I wouldn't give like a general recommendation for an indie developer. It really depends on the type of game they are working on. For example, would I have given a recommendation to the faster than light guys to launch on iPad first instead of Steam? I don't know about that. And I still think there's a category of games that are just working better. And I wouldn't say like everyone go mobile. Like if they have a specific game and it requires a keyboard and a mouse, go for Steam instead of an iPad.
I think as challenging as mobile is with the increased CPIs, competition, if you think about it, compared to console and PC, there's still much fewer gates that you have to jump through. So if you want to get a console game out there, you have to have a relationship with either Xbox, Nintendo, Sony. You have to jump through a lot of hoops. You're paying a huge royalty. The quality level of these games is significantly higher, and so generally you're investing a lot more into development. Whereas if you look on the mobile side, the reality is any developer, no matter what size team, you can still crank out a game, you can release it on your own. You have to pay the network, you have to pay the platform fee, but certainly you're getting 70% of the revenue off that game, which is much better than what you would get on almost any other platform.
Cool. So I always like to end this thing with questions from the audience. If anybody has general questions, if you do, raise your hand. I will find you with a microphone. But any questions for our awesome panel tonight before we kind of round things out? Question in the back. I can either meet you back there or you can yell it out.
Curious what your definition of platform.
What's your definition?
What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I can start. The definition of platform is where other third parties plug into it, or they have APIs on which third parties are building other app services. For example, you have the App Store. For example, you have Google Play, Amazon App Store, or to plug what we do is TapSense, where other publishers and advertisers can connect to our exchange.
So for example, someone like Tango, like if we were just a chat app where people jumped on and chatted with each other, group chat, video chat, I wouldn't call that a platform. But once we opened up and allowed developers to access the SDK and let's say use the chat app to message, to share, to gift, to run leaderboards, I think similar, when you have an API, when you have an SDK that developers are using and building on top of your platform, that's when you can say you're a platform.
Any other questions? Yes.
With regards to user acquisition channels for your apps, do you see anything up and coming in the future that's going to take over outside of what's commonly used now?
All right, I mean, I gotta take it. This is such a softball. So if you look at the success of messaging apps in Asia, Kakao, Line, the ability that they've been just able to single-handedly drive these apps to the top without doing paid UA. For someone like Tango, surely that's an attractive model. We just announced that we're combining that model with we're going to be doing paid UA behind some games. That's definitely a big thing that developers should be keeping note of. It doesn't necessarily have to be a messaging app, but any app that has a captive audience base that's able to drive those users to another game or app, I think that'll be something that really catches on.
One thing that we're doing for the launch of our app on Thursday is we're experimenting with YouTubers. And so we're not paying them any money, but we're going after the smaller YouTubers, people with 1,000 to 10,000 subscribers, asking them to make videos promoting our app. And in exchange, we'll give them a plug on the Camcord newsletter. And so we don't know how many installs this is going to drive and how big the effort is going to be, but I think definitely going after gaming celebrities is going to be a bigger and bigger channel going forward. And finding those celebrities that can drive you a lot of installs and being able to track that is going to be a powerful channel.
All right, guys, that is it for our panel tonight. Show some love for these fantastic group of guys that are off to my left. As of right now, look, we're here. We're here till 10 p.m. The bar is back open. The grilled cheese guys are back and grilling. Pick these